Greetings. Man, the time is just raging by, flying by. Um, I had a thought not too long ago about the title, Noah Works. Noah worked out his salvation with fear and trembling. And maybe let me find that verse here. Um, well, I don't think I found it, but there's some verses that have trembling, fear in it that I might as well read. Okay. How with fear and trembling you received him. Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh. Masters according to the flesh, that would be in the work world, most likely, most common. Uh, the master that owns the slave in the modern slavery that is this world, in some job, working for the man, making the rich man rich. Without the people at the bottom, they wouldn't make a single dollar, right? Oh, that's another thought. I don't know if I mentioned in the last one or not that the this world is a pyramid, and it always has been. And that's probably why the Egyptians loved the pyramid so much and built them, because this world is a pyramid scheme. That's what it is. And the scheme goes like the base is the foundation, and that's the majority of the people in the pyramid scheme. And the goal is to rise higher and higher to the top. And those that reach the top, they are God. They are the all-seeing eye. They see all things. They are enlightened. They have the true light. That's what they literally believe. The higher they rise, the more delusion they go in. The more evil they get, the more they literally think they're even more righteous. The more evil they do, the more righteous they are, because doing evil is righteous in the devil's pyramid. The more evil you do, the more the devil will reward you in this world. And the people at the top already, who knows what kind of things they are forced to do, meaning if they want to continue, they have to do this or it's done. And then they do whatever it takes to continue, to keep their job, their perversion. And as it goes higher, there's less and less people in the pyramid scheme until the top has the least amount of people. And there's enmity between the top and the bottom hates the top, and the top hates the bottom. The whole pyramid hates itself, doesn't it? The whole pyramid is condemnation and delusion. Just needs to be destroyed by a flood. That would fix the problem. It needs to be baptized by by a mighty flood. That would be good for humanity, like in the days of old. Maybe that flood is always true, and it's also coming. It already was, it is, and it is to come. That's how his word is working. It is spiritually, it was naturally before, and it is to come. Bondservants, be obedient to your masters according to the flesh. That is a command, so we're not supposed to rebel against the masters, but they're not the true masters. That's why he says according to the flesh, according to the natural. because Messiah is not our master according to the flesh. He's far above that according to the Spirit, with fear and trembling and sincerity of heart as to Messiah. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out yourself. Oh, it is here. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Job 4:14. Fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones shake. Serve Jehovah with fear and rejoice with trembling. For thus says Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. I was with you in weakness and fear and in much trembling. Let's go to this one here, Philippians, to continue that verse. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is Elohim who works in you, both to will and to do for his good pleasure. Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of Elohim without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. There is a day that's also coming. Rejoice in the day of Messiah. There is a day also to come, which I believe is not very far away, and yet it is also. To believe now is to be of Messiah in the kingdom, doing the Father's will. Because it is Elohim who works in you both to will and to do. So he's doing the works in his people. And faith is connected to works, and they can't be set apart. Now, when something needs to be one, people set it apart. They break it and divide it. And when it needs to be divided, they make it one, which is what this world does with everything. Just watched a couple clips on YouTube, just random garbage about the world. People, protesting and all that unrest. Whatever, feminism garbage and rights, and people asking questions and shoving it down everyone's throat by going around with the microphone, asking, what is a woman? What is a woman? And both sides usually have some kind of point, but they're all doing wrong. And the one that says, what are you doing here? You don't need to be doing this, that they have a point, but they also can never answer the person's question. They can't answer simple questions. That's a sign that someone is in a lie and a delusion, that what they claim to believe they don't even understand or really believe themselves, but they will say they believe it. When someone can't ever answer a simple question, something's wrong. That does prove something. It proves they don't even know. It proves that the reason they're doing what they're doing is not what they're selling, which is a delusion. Because why are they doing what they're doing if they can't even answer a simple question about what it is that they're fighting for? Well, we're not supposed to be fighting for anything in this world to save this world, because there's nothing to save. It just needs to be flooded. The only thing that can be saved is the one that forfeits themselves to the Creator, to die to the old man. There's no saving it. There's no saving the old man. It needs to die. It needs to be buried and put away, because it can do no good. Then you have divisions about all kinds of things in his word, and that's a sign that both sides are not understanding the truth. So there's always a carnal side to pick. Faith, works, and then these two fight each other, debate each other, and they're both wrong, because his truth doesn't fight itself. It doesn't debate its own self like that. It doesn't do that. It doesn't attack its own self. Faith alone, faith alone, faith alone versus by works, and then both sides will have their points. And the debate rages on for thousands of years, continuing from Messiah, almost 2,000 years. The debates rage on. When faith is of the Father, it's his. Faith is his. It's not even ours. It's a gift that he gives, and then that faith in us works to do and will for his good pleasure, not our own good will or pleasure, because we don't have any good will or good pleasure. The only pleasure man knows of is wicked pleasure, carnal pleasure of the flesh. That's it. That's called pleasure in this world. It doesn't know of what pleasure actually means heavenly. It doesn't know what that means. It doesn't know of a good way. It only knows carnal ways, which is evil, which is wicked pleasure in the flesh. And there's all kinds of ways that someone could get wicked pleasure in the flesh. Just doing evil to someone, that's a wicked pleasure. It gets off on it, it sneers, it has that devil face on it after it does evil. It likes what it does, and it's being judged, and the Father's sending down judgment to the person that just did that likes the evil that they did. They fill up with wrath because that is the Father's judgment, handing someone over to their own selves, to the devil, to fill up with wrath and hatred. That is the punishment. So as someone loves what they do for evil, now they want to destroy someone because they're filled up with so much hate because of the evil that they just did. The only thing this world can do is do to others as others have done to it. For that is the law, says some Satanist. For that is the law. It is. It's the carnal law. Nobody needs to be told that. They already are that. They know how to do that perfectly fine. They don't need a book to say, do what thou wilt. That's what everyone already is. What's the point of the book? The real book that exists, nobody's keeping. It's very much needed. And yet that book is worthless without the Father's Spirit teaching what his words mean. But you don't need a book for what you already are and perfectly do, which is evil. But I suppose people use it to learn how to do even more evil. But that's what people already are, is do what thou wilt and do to others as others have done to you. When someone does evil to someone and then that person at the bottom rises to the top, now that manager is going to go and do the same things to the people at the bottom that they were there once. Now that person's going to do what they claim to hate that their manager did to them. Now this new manager is going to do to the people at the bottom what they received when they were at the bottom from the manager. Now they become the ultimate hypocrite because they become the exact person, the same thing that they claimed and pretended to hate. Because if they hated evil, they wouldn't fully become the evil they pretended to hate. So the works always prove what someone really believes and what someone's really doing. It proves everything, the works. When Noah was building the ark, everyone that mocked and scoffed, they didn't believe. And what proves they didn't believe? They didn't work. They didn't do any work. They didn't believe a flood was coming. They didn't work on the ark for their own salvation. Noah worked for his salvation. His works proved that he believed. And he obeyed the Father's command to build an ark, which is for his own salvation, for his own good. The rest of the world didn't do that. And how foolish does it look for someone to have faith in this world? It looks foolish. That's why we read. That's how I see this teaching being taught. It always has been. It's always been there. It just needs to be given, received. That faith has always looked foolish to this world. It looks insane. We don't have to build an ark Spiritually, it looks insane to them in their heart to see any kind of work of faith, any kind. But that's a pretty big example, though, in Noah building an ark. It looks insane. Looks pretty nice outside. What flood? That's why it looks insane. We've never seen anything like that before. This person must be insane. They don't believe in judgment. They're blind to judgment. And then when judgment comes, it floods them. It's well deserved. How can't it be? How can't it be? So there's so much it's teaching and saying right in just those verses when we read of Noah's Ark. And only 8 souls were saved. And the rest flooded, baptized, but it was to their own destruction. The flesh has got to go either way. It's dying either way. So die to be saved by giving it up, or die for holding on and literally be destroyed and have your soul literally destroyed for holding on to the old man and wanting to keep it alive. Either way, it's going to be destroyed, whether for good or for bad, for evil, for destruction. The destruction of the flesh is inevitable. So then might as well be dying to live, and be dying and giving it up ourselves, as Messiah taught, to forfeit, to give it up, to, we read elsewhere, to die daily. I die daily. We read. Dying daily to what? Literally? No, of course not, because believers don't go around speaking foolishness, contradicting utter nonsense. Not that that's never been done through mistakes and whatnot, but that's not what believers are given from the Father to do, is speak literal contradictions, and the only contradictions that matter are the spiritual contradictions, because those are the only real things. Literal contradictions in his word exist everywhere, because there's always two things. There's the spiritual and the natural, and it has to be rightly divided. The same words mean two different things for the spiritual, for the natural. The same sword that cuts the flesh, it cuts both the good and the evil. We read in Job, he destroys both the righteous and the wicked alike. They're all the same. He destroys them both, the righteous and the wicked. The Father destroys both. We also read somewhere that to Jehovah, the death of the saints is precious in his sight. That doesn't sound good to the ear, does it? That doesn't sound pleasant to the natural ears. The death of his saints is precious in his sight. This is the death that they die, that nobody understood back then, even though they had the literal word on it. How could they understand without Messiah, without it being given, without the Spirit being given to see the spirit of his word? Because all the law is spiritual, all his word is spiritual. What does it look like to be flooded by a judgment and to be saved by it, through it? Like we read that they were saved through it. And the whole world was baptized in a way. And it was for most of the world's destruction, but a few, 8 souls for their salvation, literally. Their lives literally saved, teaching us something. Because the image is never the understanding, but they would have thought so. But carnal man thinks so all the time. That's the problem. It's not about a literal ark. Never was. It's not about literal water. It can't do anything concerning the soul. It can't wash away the inside sin. It just cleanses the flesh, like the disciples finally started learning and growing to know that. But they would have thought the natural thing too, like everybody does first, that baptism is required, literal baptism, that is, to be, put under water officially done by someone with order and, witnesses and whatnot, that they would have had that same understanding in the beginning because that's the best they knew at the time. But then later on, when they could see that's foolish, but that's the best they had. And that's just his word being honest about it, like he always is with so many things, just saying exactly what people thought or did, not necessarily a teaching, but just what they thought and did many times. That the water is just for the cleansing of the flesh, like Peter said, like we read in Peter, I think. So he was seeing that that's all it can do. It cleanses the outside, but it cannot cleanse the inside. It's like a fruit that has toxin in it. Just rinse it, rinse it with water and it's fine. Yeah, but what about the inside? It can only just rinse the outside. That's it at best, but it can't touch the inside. So then it's the same with sin and evil. Water can't touch the inside. It can only just literally cleanse the outside, which is teaching something for the inside always. Now, how long did it take? It took a long time for, maybe you'll find that verse, for Noah to build that ark. Genesis 7 or 8, maybe not either. Well, 6, maybe. Oh, yes, Genesis 6 is the classic doctrine here about the sons of God, the sons of Elohim, with false doctrines from one verse in Genesis, basically. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Jehovah said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever to the age, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. This is also a teaching that no matter how bad it looks right now, that he is not going to strive with man forever, with what this world is and what it's been for so long. But there is a judgment coming also. It's going to wipe everything away. He's not going to strive with this wickedness forever, because that would destroy his own soul. It would, if I could find that verse now. Might not be able to. I'm not sure. I know of that verse somewhere, that if it basically would go on forever, this evil, it would melt or I don't think it was the word destroy, something similar. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they were born children to them. Those were the mighty men, not angels, who were of old, men of renown, and like renown, a warrior, strong man, like a literal warrior, men of renown. The sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men. Well, the only thing that's happening in this world and always has happened is people giving birth, women giving birth to children. That's it. There has been no angels creating babies, sleeping with women. Nowhere do we read angel in this whole anywhere, but only men and the sons of Elohim, a type and shadow of the true, but not the true themselves. The true sons of Elohim are now in Messiah when that day fulfilled this word to become true, for this to start becoming true for once and for all, spiritually. Son of Elohim, believers. Were they doing good works here? These giants, these big giants that are 7,000, what was it, 4,000 feet tall, 400. There's contradicting things in the other book, Enoch. There's like 400 feet, and the same book also says like 4,000 or 1,000. I don't know. There's more than one number, so I don't. Which one is it? Literal contradictions about. So maybe somewhere 400 feet tall, and somewhere I guess angels are really big to pass down those genes to a tiny woman. Because usually if the parents are both tall, then there's a good chance that the kid might be tall, a better chance of that happening. But a tiny woman that births to a giant, hundreds and hundreds of feet tall, how big would that angel have to be? Because that's still a small woman to pass down those small genes. How big would the angel have to be? Must be like 1,000 times bigger than the woman. Nonsense. Then Jehovah saw that the wickedness of man, well, it wasn't good, was it? The wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Right to the heart of it, right in Genesis 6, that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. That's strong. And Jehovah was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So Jehovah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping thing, and birds of the air, for I'm sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Jehovah. That might be the first time we read grace, the word, I think, and is here, found grace in the eyes of Jehovah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with Elohim. Well, that's a tough one, because what does it really mean? Since all that became before Messiah were thieves and robbers in reality, as Messiah said. What word is this speaking of? What kind of just righteousness is and perfect in his generations are we reading here? Self-righteous, perfect in his own mind. Did Noah walk with Elohim in spirit? The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. Well, as it is now, it is violent out there. So Elohim looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. The end of flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with pitch. Where did we read how long it took? And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring two of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. We read in Luke, one verse in Luke, where Messiah sends them out two by two. I wonder why we read that. He sends them out two by two. Is it where we read of the 70? I think. But it's in Luke, I believe. He sent out his people two by two. Well, that's a reference to back in Noah's day with the ark to save them two by two. And maybe that's how he does it. Two people, two believers so often that's maybe it. Or two at a time. So a small little group at a time, two by two. Would that be saying that people are animals? If that's a reference to the animals going in the ark? If Noah is Messiah representing the master builder of the ark, Messiah building the ark, that spiritual ark, and then he is the master, he's been perfected. He's like a man, a human, and then we're just like animals still, beasts that need to be made into what Messiah is. Messiah is saving the beast two by two, not to keep the old man alive, but to keep their soul alive, the true life, to keep them alive, and yet the old man needs to die nevertheless. Where's it's up here? This is interesting. Then Jehovah said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Righteous before me. It's the right word. Before 1,137 times. Face his presence. face of animals, face of cherubim, presence, person, face, around, surface of ground, before and behind, toward, in front, before and behind, toward, in front of, forward, formally, before time, in front of, before, to the front of, in the presence of, in the face of. We also read of taking 7 each of every clean animal, 2 each of animals that are unclean, male and his female. 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. I will destroy the face of the earth, all living things. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. 600 even, because we don't read 601 or 2, so 600. When carnal man was flooded. 6 days. Man, the number of man is 6, and he needs to be destroyed. And then on the 7th day, there's rest, entering the spiritual, entering the ark, entering the kingdom is to become spiritual. Dying to 6, becoming 7, the new man, and then once again, putting off number 7 for 8 to become the complete new man in the resurrection, which is the new creation, complete. Never really thought about the clean and unclean, both in the ark. Of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds and of everything that creeps on the earth. No partiality. Is this also teaching that he saves all, the clean and the unclean? Those that believe now are especially saved. Well, this is a verse that people don't believe, most don't. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptance. For to this end we both labor and suffer reproach, because we trust in the living Elohim. That's why there's the suffering of reproach, who is the Savior of all men, especially of those who believe. Something special, especially now, being saved already now, and to be saved, because there's 2 salvations, to believe now, to be becoming saved, but it's not finished, and then the salvation at the end, the resurrection in the end, the full salvation, that Messiah will come, that will all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. These things command and teach. Who's doing it? It says right in their word, command and teach. Teach what? That Elohim is the Savior of all men, especially of those who believe. Isn't the word especially double strong? That it does mean all, that all does mean all? His word can be broken, especially means not exclusively. So all really does mean all, especially with the word especially in there, because it's not exclusively. Because we trust in the living Elohim, who is the Savior present, but it doesn't look like he's the Savior of all, does it? It doesn't matter what it looks like. This is who he is. This is what he's going to do. And what he hasn't done yet, he speaks, and it's as if it's done. What hasn't been done yet, like we read elsewhere. That's his prophecy. He speaks the word, and it's as if it's already done, but it's not done yet in our eyes. But it's done to him, because it will be done, and no one's going to stop it. It's a sure thing. Unlike a man's will and plan that gets thwarted and stopped and broken up. His will is sure. He will do this because he said he will, and he never breaks his promise. Who is the Savior of all men, especially of those who believe. Well, it is a special thing for believers now for believing in him, because they're being saved now, unlike the whole entire world. So there's something especially special about that. These things command and teach. Boy, what they have to work for, and how hard they have to work to try to break up just this verse and so many others. The contradictions you will come up with for trying to break this word and making self to be a fool, because it doesn't want to believe it. It doesn't want to believe it. No, I've seen the enmity and hatred. It does not believe this. You would think someone would want to hear that. That's good news, but then they end up hating it and you for hearing it. And no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word and conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. So then maybe that is what it is, clean and unclean. There's no partiality in the Father. 2 by 2, but also clean. And we did read the number 7, 7 of each, 7 each of every clean animal. And 7 is that perfection. We need to be perfected in Messiah, and that's what 7 is. That's the best we can be today. We can't be 8, because that's to come. That's the end of this age, which is the beginning of the next age. That hasn't come yet. It can't come until it's at the literal end. So 7 is resting in the Father. On the 7th day he rested. 7 is the perfect, complete rest in him. It's to be clean, where he commands to separate yourself from the unclean, from that which is unclean, and he will receive you. Be set apart from the unclean. That's a command and a promise. Then he will receive you. How does a carnal man understand that verse? Well, he might go out on the street with a microphone and saying, "You dirty filth, repent, you wicked sinners," and just say a bunch of offensive things that he tries to force down people's throat, and proclaim how righteous he is and how filthy everyone else is, right in people's face, with an evil heart of self-righteousness. Not too long ago, I saw a older man, at least middle-aged or older, was driving by and doing my thing, deliveries, and there was just a guy that I've never seen before and never see anyone there. It's like the main road, so, and he was just waving a Bible, like waving it up in the air high, back and forth, back and forth. And at the time I thought it was real funny because I had some thought that I'm not remembering. I had a thought right before that, and just seeing that at that time was funny to me because of whatever thought I had. But I'm wondering, what's really going on in his mind? What is he really doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? The true intentions. Does he even believe himself at all? Does he exist? Or is man just the creator, God? They do believe that Messiah is God, so it's definitely possible for them to be God, I guess. To become more like Messiah is to be more like God, to become God. What a mixed up confusion the devil's done with everything, mixing up all the doctrine and destroying everything. There's always some carnal, feel good, sound good explanation for every single word that sounds like it could be true, that pleases the flesh, and it has nothing to do with the truth. But they can easily make it look like that because it already looks like that. They don't have to work or do anything. You just open your mouth and proclaim it. With carnal doctrine and understanding, you don't have to do anything except just sell the image. It already looks like something. It already looks like that. They're just like a salesman. Here's what everyone can see. It's right here. And then we'll sell it. We'll sell this doctrine. It already looks that way. All we're doing is just selling it. They're salesmen for the devil. What do you call that? Hirelings. Most of them making a good profit for what they do. I've never been able to see anything except corruption and making a bunch of money for the Father's word, for truth. I want to know how any of them can freely give and obey that command ever at any time while they're making money. What on earth does that mean? It breaks what freely give means. For any believer that believes that they have to pay something, money to the Creator to receive the Spirit, don't we read about it being given freely? Now he commands us to do the same because anything else would be hypocritical and evil. Puts a bad name to the Creator himself, doesn't it? Well, there's plenty of people doing that. There's plenty of people making the Father look like a evil fool that's very selfish and insecure, violent, has tantrum fits, whatever, they say. Because it kind of looks that way already with his word, doesn't it? All you have to do is pick some verses, pull them out, and sell it. And now you can get a crazy God that's insecure. They could easily do that. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't take any wisdom or understanding to do that. But also with his 6 days, because I believe that is how long man has also on a grand scale, 6 days. And on the seventh, there'll be rest for the whole entire earth, for the whole creation. The old's got to go to bring in the new. 6,000 years. And who actually knows what year it is? Like, has anyone ever seen any proof? Because they say all kinds of things, but who's proven it? Well, this is just by faith that this is so and will be, regardless of what other people say that, say the earth is however, 10,000, 5,200, whatever numbers people come up with. I don't know how someone would literally prove that, especially when the past world was flooded and all evidence wiped away. And then maybe leaving a lot of fossils behind to confuse mankind, to deceive mankind that hates the Creator, and then start saying they're billions of years old. But it was because they got flooded suddenly. And that's how fossilizing, if that's the word, happens. Weird fossils way up in the hills in certain places, way up in the mountains. I wonder how they got there. Maybe because there was a flood. That would be the simple understanding and answer to it all, that the world says that It came from whatever they say, their evolution God. It is a God, a false God. Everything came from nothing. They're actually kind of right when they say that everything came from nothing, because nothing doesn't exist. It's nothing. Everything came from nothing, meaning it never happened. Nothing can come from, everything can't come from nothing. It's a contradiction. All evidence on earth in this life says that anything that's living comes from something that's living already. Wake up, foolish world. There is no evidence that goes against that truth. It's everywhere. I just, one day I just existed. I don't know why. Evolution created me. It just popped out from thin air for nothing, for no reason, and from nothing. Then they try to paint the truth as stupid and evil by saying, where did God come from? That's their only argument. It doesn't want to accept that it's the creature, that it's the created. It doesn't want to accept that it cannot comprehend or answer that question, the tiny little mind that everyone has, including me, the tiny little brain that can't comprehend. It doesn't want to accept that. It needs to know everything. It needs to figure it out. And for figuring it out, it goes into more delusion and has nothing. For figuring it out, it has nothing. It has no understanding for figuring it out. That's the punishment. You want to figure out against me, against my truth? I'll give you foolishness for understanding. It's nothing. Stupid. The windows of heaven and the fountain, the great fountains of the great deep were broken up. Windows of heaven were opened. 40 days and 40 nights. Messiah was tempted 40 days and 40 nights. Sent to the desert to be tested by the devil, by the Father. That doesn't seem loving, does it? I'm going to put a hard, crazy test on you, send you out in the wilderness to be tempted by the devil hardcore, constantly, nonstop, every day. And you must overcome it. 40 days and 40 nights. The perfect testing. 4 and 4 is 8. The only way we can get to 8 is through this testing, being tested constantly, over and over and over and over and over and over again. Devils sent out to test. Some devil out there on the street to test you, to try to piss you off. See what you do. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Over and over and over and over. The devil just seems to know where you're at and what you're doing at all times. Even seeming to know your thoughts at times, or it appears that way because of the timing at times, which is real frustrating because I know the devil doesn't actually know anything. He's a fool. People are fools. So how on earth did such and such happen? How did they know? Do they really know? They don't know. But it appeared like they knew something, almost as if it was prophecy. Maybe those are the lying wonders, the false prophecies and lying wonders of the devil, because it makes itself strongly look like it knows. That's what false prophets do about themselves. They sell something that's a lie that they don't know of, that they don't understand, don't believe themselves, but they strongly sell that they know and understand, and sell themselves as knowing far greater than everyone else, that you must go through them. And that's what they want. They want people to bow down and worship them. That's what false prophets always do. It's never been any different. I had the thought of the high priest that Abraham went to, Melchizedek. 10% of his life, his stock, his, what's the word? Abraham gave 10% to the high priest. And I was thinking, yeah, that priest does want 10% of rich Abraham's money. That would be a good profit. Yeah, I bet he does want 10% of thousands of people's, give me 10%. What am I going to do with that money? Well, I'll make it look like that it's going towards God in some kind of way, or some temple, or church or whatever. And then snuff out the profits, take it in for myself in the meantime, and keep up this scam going on where it's some carnal man getting 10% of it, someone's living for multiple people. That's a lot of money. It's a good business. And it always sounds like you're attacking his word when doing something like that, when it's not. It depends what the heart's doing, but it looks that way. It sounds that way because the carnal thing isn't the understanding. It never was. The carnal thing is the foolishness. It is the evil. We can't throw money to the creator. Here's 10%. Beep, beep, beep. Here's 10%. Beep. And then just throw money in the sky. See, you have it now. I gave it. See, I did it. But the heart didn't even do that when it's raging like that. It didn't do anything. It didn't give. That's not what giving is. It's like a child saying, yeah, I said sorry. See, I said sorry, sorry. That's not sorry. It doesn't know what sorry is. It said the word in spite, in mockery, in wrath, in confusion. It said it just so it could say, see, I said it. It thinks everything is about words, literal words. If I say the words, that means I did it. That's what carnality is. If I say the words, I did it. Or the trick people use all the time, I never said that. I never said that. Yeah, you did. You just said that. And then they claim they never said that. That's incredible. They implied it. They obviously implied it. They said it. They said it with their heart. And then they say, I never said that. Over and over again. People will do the same thing over and over and over again. Same thing. They'll say, I never said that. With anger and strictness, they say something and imply it. That was their intention. It's obvious. And then when someone says, did you just say whatever? I never said that. I'm a thief and a robber, a deceiver. I'm a trickster. Gotcha. You can't figure me out. I'm too wise and smart for you. I never said that. Like I got him. He can't figure me out. Has like a mashed potatoes and gravy and beans and a bunch of crap mixed up going on in his mind, all mushed up and spinning. That's what's really happening in there. Just a bunch of mixed works and nonsense. Went into the ark 2 by 2 of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. That's his salvation. Messiah breathed on them, and they received the Spirit. He breathed life, not with the literal breath, which is a type of the true. Not that there's no importance to the natural. It's just that that's not the understanding. Adam was breathed into to give him a literal life, to become a literal living soul. But now that's not the true life. Messiah breathed on them. And we read that for our admonition, for those that are learning and understanding why we read that. Not because breathing does something like, see, now you have the Spirit. That's like God man or something. That's like, what's that corrupt man? Tube of demons. And I say, blow! Corona virus be gone! Blow! Oops, I better straighten up my face. I know I'm a fraud. Oh, straighten up, straighten up. I can't even help laughing at myself. Laughing at myself. These are the kind of people that rule people, that lead people, that are leaders and rich people of the earth. This is the wisdom they have. No wonder we read that the Father takes the wisdom away from man. He makes fools out of them, that he'll make fools out of the prophets, out of the priests. It's so bad, it's hilarious sometimes. Just because how stupid it is, man. The devil is a dumb beast. But sometimes dumb beasts are funny. They went in as Elohim had commanded him. Where did they come from? How did they just know to go to the ark? All the animals, all of a sudden, they just know where to go. How do they know? Well, I don't know. Call the scientist. We need to figure this out. How did they know? Assuming that they would agree that this happened. Now we got to find out why. We need to call NASA and figure out how this happened. How could it be that they just came from seemingly nowhere and walked in 2 by 2 just as commanded, in perfect line and perfect order, into the ark? What's going on? Is the Creator in charge? Is that why? Is it because his spirit rules all the spirits of man and animal? The very real power that nobody can mess with, that nobody can touch. You just know when you know. It just is, that there is no explaining it. The explaining is the Father said so. That's it. But that's not an answer to people. The animals would say if they could talk, the Father said so. That's why I'm going in the ark. I was told to. I could hear it. I could hear it. Something's telling me to go this way in the right direction. I don't know where I'm going. I'll end up at the right place because of listening to him, listening to his voice. That's how Messiah said the Spirit is. That's what it's like. It's like the wind. Sometimes it blows east or west or north. The only important thing is that you just follow where it goes. See if I can find that. Maybe the word wind wasn't used, just implied. I thought it was. Well, there's the good and the evil, see, because we also read that we should no longer be children tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, in the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting. That means someone's doing it on purpose. You don't plot what you do on accident. Hey, what are you doing? I don't know. That's what people will act like. They'll play dumb or dead, Animals do that. They play dead, play stupid, play like they're dead to save their soul when they feel like they've been spotted by something out there. They don't want to get caught or trapped or, in trouble. So it plays dead. People will do that in a literal delusion, thinking they're wise. When they need to do it, they'll do it. Let him ask in faith with no doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. See, now we have a different side of that word with the wind, something not good, you know, like something just being blown around out of control, always changing. Who can see the difference between the wind and the wind? I might have to search that on Google to find that verse. Thank you, Google. Thank you, AI. I know your intentions are good so that we can search things about his word. That's why the AI exists. Thank you, Google. Oh yeah, now I'm remembering. The spirit blows. I don't think it was using the word wind, but it is about the wind. John 3:8. I said John 3:8. People do that a lot too after they make a mistake themselves and it's not working the way they want it to work. I said, getting frustrated at self, acting like you could blame the computer or something or the mouse. It's amazing how much blame goes out to things that aren't even alive. Oh, I put Joe by accident. John 3:8. I marvel that I said to you, you must be born again. Most assuredly, which literally would be truly, truly. I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, water, that flood water, that baptism, and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of Elohim. It's kind of like a natural birth, the picture, breaking the water, and the Spirit's invisible. Nobody believes in the Spirit. He's asking the wrong question. Enter a second time into his mother's womb and be born. But this is a great example, along with others, of a carnal understanding of something, and you end up asking the wrong question altogether because the thought is not in the ballpark. The thoughts, they're way off. They have to come from him. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, separating that. That's all that. And that which is born of the Spirit is spirit, and separate that from the flesh. Separate these two things. They don't have anything to do with each other. In fact, they're enmity against each other. The Spirit is at enmity against the flesh, and the flesh lusts against the Spirit. And since man is flesh, that means self will want to naturally lust against the Spirit and hate it and do whatever is evil. And that will seem right in someone's eyes because they're flesh, and flesh is evil, and the Spirit is spirit, and the Spirit hates the works of the flesh. It has nothing to do with it. The Father's not of this world. He's in the world, but not of it. The only God people know in this world is the God of this world, the devil. That sounds cruel. I guess it would be cruel and unusual for the devil to hear that. in his own mind. It's the truth. It's the truth, devil. How come nobody's proud of the devil, their father? How come nobody's proud of you, devil? Shouldn't they be proud of their father? People get angry if they were to be called devils. Shouldn't they be rejoicing? Do not marvel that I said to you, you must be born again. The wind now, there's a connection always with what Messiah teaches. Now he's answering to some of this. He's giving some examples, some real meat for this. This is something like what it's like to be born again, and the Spirit, being born of the Spirit. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear the sound of it, but cannot tell where it comes from and where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit. Doesn't that sound like being lost? Isn't that to be lost, to not know where it comes from or where it goes? This is what it's like to be of the kingdom. Yeah, in the carnal mind, to be of the Spirit is to look stupid and lost, is a fool. It looks like that in their eyes, and they could use the word to justify it and think they're wise doing so. It does look like that to the carnal eyes without any understanding. It's so prideful. It cannot ever think that it is what lost means. It is the definition in Webster's dictionary. Lost equals humanity. That is the perfect definition of lost. Just say humanity. Man and woman. Humanity. Lost. Webster's dictionary. Look it up. No, I'm sure that's not what it says. Not likely. But that would be a true definition, though, if it was. If we don't know where we're coming from or where we're going, isn't that like being out in the desert or in the ocean, lost? This is what it is to be of the Spirit. Doesn't that feel kind of like you're lost, alone, with no direction, don't know where you're going or where you're coming from? This is what it's like to be born of the Spirit. Because to follow the Father in spirit is to acknowledge that we are lost. It's to finally see that we are lost. We don't know where we're going. We don't know where we're going, where we're coming from, and that's because we're lost. He didn't come to save the righteous. He didn't come to save those that are found. The found don't need any finding or saving. He came to save that which was lost, Messiah said. He didn't come for the righteous Nicodemus. Nicodemus doesn't need any saving because he knows where he's going, where he's coming from. He's found, he's righteous. Messiah didn't come to save the righteous like Nicodemus. And maybe he did end up believing later, but right now, using this example, a teacher of Israel that does not truly believe, that doesn't understand, said so. Are you the teacher of Israel and do not know these things? I wonder why Messiah said that. For his benefit. Look what you're doing. I wonder how many people are doing it. You're the teacher of Israel and you don't know any of these things? You don't know these things. None. These are the very heart of the truth. This is what matters. You don't know the basic things about the kingdom, and you're a teacher of Israel. I wonder what kind of teaching he's teaching then. False teaching. A liar. To follow the Father in spirit is to just listen to his voice and hear it in spirit. He says go left, and we go left, and we go right, and we just have to believe and trust that it's the right direction and it'll work out somehow. It doesn't feel like it, it doesn't look like it, but we're supposed to keep believing and then it works out. He leads us in the right direction because he sees all that and knows that we don't know. A believer is not what someone would think they are. Some prideful God man that knows all things as far as we don't know what the Creator knows. We can't even see what tomorrow brings. Like we read, that's for all people, including believers. We can't even know what tomorrow brings. So, I mean, how much power does a believer? None. Only whatever's given. The more we deny, the more he gives. The more we acknowledge we're lost, the more we know where we're going, because we follow that which knows where it's going. The Father knows where he's going. So if we walk like Noah with Elohim, we don't have to know of ourselves where we're coming from or where we're going, literally, because we follow him who does know where he's going, where he's coming from, and therefore we know where we're going by not knowing. And I know I've said that before. That is it. We know because we know where we're going because we acknowledge we don't know. That's the only way to know is by not knowing, not saying the words, but in the heart, acknowledging that it doesn't know. It's the only way it can learn. As long as it keeps saying, I know this, I know that, I know what good is, I know what evil is, it will never know in reality because it says it knows and it's lying to its own self. Someone says they don't know what this means, don't know what it is, then they will be given. If they ask, and they'll receive and then know something about it. Why? Because they don't know, because they didn't know. The simple giving, simple teaching that he teaches. He teaches. He doesn't teach those that know everything. He teaches those that don't know everything, that doesn't know anything. Teaches us what we don't know, not what we know. There's no need to teach what someone knows fully. It breaks the word and definition of teach. Teach what you don't know. So if the Father is like the wind and we just follow it, it kind of looks crazy. It looks like you are lost to somebody. Moving this way, moving that way. Looks like you're not getting anywhere because it's looking at the wrong things. It's looking at the kingdom carnally from the outside. It's looking with carnal eyes what the kingdom is. It's looking at literal direction, and it's never been about literal direction. You could look lost all day long and know where you're going because of following the Father. You can look lost all the time to someone, and it doesn't mean you're lost. Someone can look like they're not lost all day long, and it means in that case they're lost. It doesn't mean that they're not lost because they don't look like they're lost. People sell themselves to make themselves purposely look like they're not lost. They're lost. They just don't want to acknowledge it. It's a lot of pride to break down to really acknowledge these things, especially if you're a Nicodemus already for many years. What would happen to him if he said, I'm lost, guys? I have no idea what I'm talking about to you. I'm just making it up. I don't know any of this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost. How would that look? He might lose his job. He might receive a lot of shame. So he continues. So then a person continues to do what they're doing, continuing in the delusion, thinking that by continuing in it, they can escape the delusion, escape the shame, escape all of that pain, all that pride and breaking down and utter fear of that shame, of being exposed for what you really are. You can't escape that. Nobody can escape that. It's a lie to think that it can be escaped. Truly, truly, I say to you, we speak that what we know and testify what we have seen, and you do not receive our witness. Boy, that is just straight to the point, hardcore spiritually. He's just saying exactly as it is in Nicodemus's heart. You do not receive our witness. If I have told you earthly things and you do not believe, how will you believe if I tell you heavenly things, the spiritual things? And if earthly things aren't even being understood, which are the lowly things, how on earth can the heavenly things way above the earth be understood? That's so much greater. It's more than just a stepping stone to it. No one has ascended to heaven but he who came down from heaven, that is, the Son of Man who is in heaven. Is that in bold or italics? Even the Son of Man. Okay, that might be added then. No one has ascended to heaven but he who came down from heaven, the Son of Man who is in heaven. That'll trip someone up. No one has ascended to heaven but he who came down from heaven, that is the Son of Man who is in heaven. He's speaking of himself, saying he is in heaven. It sounds pretty prideful to someone that's not in heaven, someone who dwells on the earth, carnal, dwelling in the heavenly places, in the New Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, the heavenly city, dwelling in heaven. Nobody can or has ascended to heaven except the one that came down from heaven, the Son of Man who is in heaven. He gives the Spirit, and it comes down from himself, the Father Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the set apart Spirit. He gives from above. Someone has to be born again from the Spirit that came from above down to the person. And anybody that doesn't have that Spirit, the Father Spirit, they cannot ascend to heaven. They didn't come down from heaven. They are not in heaven. But the Spirit is given to believers, and it came from above. Now that believer is from above, born from above, who came down from heaven. That believer came down from heaven. But it's the Father Spirit doing everything that counts, not the person itself. And then to be one, to have his Spirit that is from above, is to be of his world, his heavenly world and kingdom, who is in heaven. That believer is in heaven. Messiah is speaking of the way that he is, that has been given to him, that he knows he is. That Messiah came down from heaven because he was born from above, from birth, special, receiving the Spirit already at a young age. The perfect picture of being born, growing up, learning, but he has the Father Spirit from the beginning, from his birth. And in this way, he came down from heaven. Who believes that? Because I've heard something else altogether. Only ever been taught something else, only ever heard something else until starting to see what this is. That other thing has been wrong all this time. It's completely breaking and destroying what it means. That he literally came from heaven. See, that's the same problem Nicodemus has. How can someone be born from a mother's womb? Someone might think they're wise and say, well, I'm not that stupid. Nicodemus, but I'm not Nicodemus. I'm not that dumb. Come on, you can't be born again, literally. Duh. Because they have some words they can read that are saying like that's not the understanding, and then you just repeat those words. But are they really understanding? If so, then how come they're saying Messiah came down from literal heaven? That he existed before he was born and all these things, that he's God? If they really understand, how come they're teaching all these false things if they're not Nicodemus? Just like someone can't literally be born again, Messiah didn't literally come down from heaven, and yet he did come down from heaven. There's that enmity again between the sword, the carnal, the natural, and the spiritual at every point, at every word. To be from above, Messiah said he is from above. We read that elsewhere. Anything that a man receives has to be given from above, or otherwise he has nothing, not from beneath. As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. That carnal man is a serpent, needs to die, needs to be lifted up so that it can die, like the serpent being lifted up in the wilderness. And they looked at that serpent, and if they believed, they would be healed from the deadly serpent bite, the poison that is the devil, that kills, steals, and destroys. If they just believed and looked on that serpent, on the rod, on the stake, if they just would believe, then they would be healed. Isn't that Messiah? To look on him and believe, and someone will be healed. But is Messiah a serpent? What is this? The carnal man is a serpent. The flesh needs to die, and that's the picture. The old man needs to die. There's nothing good in the old man. It's a serpent. That's of its father, the devil, from the beginning. Oh, he says it right here. He makes the connection right there. As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, like we read about that they would just believe and would be healed. That whoever believes in him, Messiah himself, should not perish like they did in the desert if they didn't believe, but have eternal life, age abiding life. Critical text omits not perish, but, so it would just say that whoever believes in him should have eternal life. Okay. Broken critical text. It's a serpent, that text. It's the man's heart is a serpent. That's the problem. What do they have a problem with? Not perish, but should not perish, but have eternal life. To get rid of that in their text, in their made up text. That whoever believes in him should have eternal life. That's what it would say then. It wouldn't say not perish, but have eternal life, age abiding life. What would happen to the people that didn't believe looking on that serpent? They would perish. It's broken. There's always some kind of support for every word somewhere else. That's the point. They would perish. They would not perish if they believed, and they would perish if they didn't believe. If they believed on that rod that was lifted up with the serpent, they would not perish, but they would have age abiding life. They would literally be alive. Can someone see how the literal story and picture is never the understanding, but it is teaching the true understanding? How confused they would be to think that's the understanding, is to just literally stay alive. What profit is it for a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul, or have his soul be destroyed? What good is it to be alive, but you're dead while you're alive? So the understanding can't be just to be literally alive, because what good is it if you're dead while you're alive? That's the life Messiah is speaking of. For Elohim so loved the world, 3:16, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have age abiding life. Whoever believes in him. And that belief will produce works that come from him. Just like believing that a flood's coming, believing, fearing in the Father's judgments for sin means that we'll do something about it. It leads to works more and more fruit, works being produced, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. But it produces works, belief. Here's what belief looks like without doing works. You get flooded, pretty foolish. They all got flooded. That's what faith without works looks like. It's dead. Maybe that's why he says faith without works is dead. Now that I just thought of that verse, thinking maybe he pictured Noah's day when he said that in John. Faith without works is dead, getting right to the point. Like the body without the spirit is dead. I had another thought recently too similar to that, teaching the same thing, but saying it a different way, different angle. The Bible without the Father Spirit is dead. The body without the Spirit is dead. Faith without works is dead. The Bible without his Spirit is dead, worthless. Dead is worthless. It doesn't do anything. It's rotting. It's dead. It's good for nothing. His Bible is worthless. It's garbage. It's dead without his Spirit. And yet there isn't an importance to his word, to see how they all have to be one. They can't be divided. His word is only good if it's one with his things, the Spirit, getting understanding from him for what that word means. Then these two can become one, on earth as it is in heaven. Because what good has the Bible done for people, for religion specifically, without his Spirit? It kills, it steals, it destroys. It's dead things. It's dead. The letter of his word without the Spirit, which is life, is a dead letter. On a good day, it's a dead letter. These words on the screen are just dead words then, without his Spirit, without belief in him, and specifically belief in Messiah. For Elohim did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world. He never did that to do that. But that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already. He's already condemned. Doesn't have to be condemned with some kind of wicked condemning work, condemning someone. It's already condemned. It's already dead. It's already lifeless. It's condemned already. It's dead. It always was dead. It's just dead because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim. And this is the condemnation. What is the condemnation already? If someone's not believing, they're condemned already. This is the condemnation already. That the light has come into the world and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. The dead produce dead fruits and dead works. It does evil with that deadness. It doesn't do any good. It does evil with those are works of the devil. They're dead works. For everyone practicing evil hates the light. This is that condemnation already. It hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. These are the deeds all done in secret. These are the deeds that everyone hides, constantly lying and deceiving and doing evil. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen. That's what strength is. That's the definition of strength. A coward runs from the light. So the world created a different definition that it all agrees on, conveniently from the devil, for what a coward is. it's 180 from what it really means, that they have been done in Elohim, to see that the deeds are done in him, to be exposed, for self to be exposed, to see that the works are done in Elohim, to make sure and see what they are, and not running from it. Because the definition of a coward in this world is someone that, doesn't fight, that doesn't do evil. Isn't that pretty plain to see? A coward is someone that doesn't do the evil. That's the world's definition of a coward, someone that runs from evil. Isn't that something? Coward, you coward. Someone screams, you coward, because they're walking away from the evil. They're a coward now. You coward, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Come and fight, you coward. They want to fight. They want to do evil. That's why they're saying that. They can't believe someone wouldn't do it, so they want to stir that person up to do it. They're afraid. They're greatly afraid. People don't believe it. They're afraid. The more evil someone does, the more afraid they are, the bigger the coward they are. It's just the truth. If someone were to kill a man, that person is more afraid than the average person, because they did a work that proves how afraid they are. They killed someone. They're that afraid of their soul being hurt and lost. They make it look like they care about their soul so much, but they care about the carnal man. They don't care about the soul. They don't care about the true life, the soul from above, the life from above. They don't care about that life or think anything highly of it at all. The true life, the true soul. Just the carnal soul itself, selfishly. It's so afraid that someone else will take something from it or destroy it first. So it needs to go destroy someone else first before someone gets to it. That's like the utter definition of coward on an extreme level, doing a greater evil is just in a more extreme example. And the lesser evil would be, a little lesser of a coward. It's still a coward, just not as much as the one that did a greater evil. Nobody believes it. I could see that the world doesn't believe it. It's all the same. Knowledge and the wisdom that comes from the world is all the same from all the different peoples. I don't see anything different. I don't see anything unique or special. I don't see any light. There's no light. They scream in their songs, all kinds of songs about darkness. They sing about their darkness and that there's no light. How is it that the devil's telling some truth? Do they really believe themselves? No, they don't. They don't believe in the very words they're saying. They don't, because their works prove they don't believe their own words. They don't believe their actual darkness. They don't believe they're evil. They don't. They could say it when the timing is right, when there's no pressure or testing, and smile while saying it. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. Their works prove they don't believe it. The only thing to look for is the works. Everyone's leaving behind works, and it proves something. What do the works say? What is Noah saying? An example of faith. He's working. That's what it looks like. He believes. See, look, he's working over there. And he's going to work for a few hundred years. I never did find it. Where is it? All in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. But what about above the land? In heaven, there's life. But on the earth, it's a wasteland. On earth, it's the dead dying. Carnality. The earth represents carnality, lowly. The breath of the spirit of life. The Messiah breathed the spirit of life into the disciples. And it came from the Father through Messiah. And this is not literal breath that a believer receives, but it's something like it. Adam becomes alive. He was just dead, just a dead man on the ground until there's some breath breathed into him life. All of a sudden he's alive. He can see things for the first time that he never saw before, that he never heard before, because he was dead. In Adam, all die. In Messiah, all are made alive. In Messiah, all will be made alive. But only those that believe right now are being made alive. All will be made alive in Messiah, but not now. Only those that believe now can break his word. We're not saying everyone is saved. That's what someone will say. Are you saying everyone is saved? No, on the contrary, hardly anyone is saved right now or being saved, because it's not finished either. Nobody's saved, but only a few are being saved. And those that continue to the end will be saved. Past tense, but only a few are being saved. And when we say saved, meaning being saved, as long as the intentions are right. But it can sound off, but it doesn't matter as long as the heart is seeing the right things, saying the right things for the right reason and intentions. That's going to be a problem in his word all the time, is just literally looking at it, trying to literally understand it, and instantly there's contradictions, and then there's divisions, and then you go blind to certain verses, you ignore them because it goes against what the side you chose, and the other side goes blind to the things that the other side chose, and then they fight, and each side has its points. It makes sense why each side will have its points, legitimate points, and yet they're all far off somehow. But they do both have their points because they are on one side and the other is on the other side. One is blind to all the things against its side, and the other is blind to all the things on its side. So when they say something, they're saying something from their side of that word, and there's a point to that. And then the other side says the side it doesn't, the side it accepts in its own mind, but not going blind to it, ignoring those verses. It has its points. And there's this division. And division causes different groups and religions, and that's how they come. That's where they come out of, all these different religions and groups and denominations. Because of that happened to all of them. All of them. Why don't they just let the Father be the teacher and let him bring together the animals, the beasts in the field into the ark? Maybe that would work a lot better. Just let him do it and teach. Can't learn it all in one day, so not try to act like we need to learn it in one day and need to know. Hasty. All those that believe in him will not be hasty, we read. Will not be in haste and hasty. All those that believe in Messiah, that is, will not act in haste. Everyone that doesn't believe in Messiah is acting in haste. There's this unrest to know something, and for that they don't know. There's no satisfaction, because what they receive is not the truth. Therefore, they still don't know in reality. So what good is it to be hasty about something if you're never going to receive the answer or truth anyways? That's a punishment. It's like that for a reason. It's a punishment to be hasty. For being hasty, you will learn nothing. You will get nothing for your soul. You will not actually in your soul be satisfied because you don't actually have the answer. But only asking, not being hasty and patient, and then someone receives a little bit, and that little bit is the real thing, and then that satisfies. And then it builds more and more and more from that, piece by piece. It can't receive all of it at once. It would be too much. Noah can't build the ark in one day. He can't understand building the ark in one day. Isn't it foolish to act like you could and need to build the ark in one day? What's going to happen if someone has that belief? They will never build the ark while they make themselves look like they're the biggest seller of building the ark. That's what people are doing. People are doing that left and right about all kinds of things, doing that for denominations, religions, products they sell. The biggest seller of something is like the one that you want to stay away from the most. Speaking of that kind of thing. Father's word's not a product to be capitalized on, sold like that, merchandise, exchanged. The souls of men exchanged just like merchandise. All the different valuable things that people value. And then the souls of men are exchanged in Revelation, just like the merchandise. Like one goes the other, next, candles, perfumes, gold, silver, incense, whatever, souls of men. Wait, what? Souls of, oh yeah, no, keep going. Candles, coins, incense, going, blah, 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 souls of men, and just keep going. Like there's no difference between merchandise and souls of men. That's why we read that in Revelation. There is no difference in the heart. There's no value for life. It's just like merchandise, like a product, and people are seen as a product by people above them. That's a common thing because it's a pyramid scheme. What can you make for me? What kind of money can you make me? If you lie more, you'll get the job more likely. If you lie more than the next person, you'll likely get the job. We're willing to choose people that are willing to lie and sell themselves like I did to get my position that I'm in. You know, the manager, a higher position. They had to do those things. Now they're looking for people willing to do that. I see you. I see me in you. I see me in you. And then I will choose you because I see me in you. I don't care about you. I know what it takes to get up to this place, high on the pyramid. Now I need to see me, what I did, because I got here. I did the works. I know what it takes. I need to see me in you. And whoever sells that the best, whoever I see has me in them the most, that person I will choose. I trust that person more because I see me in them, that they will make me money and do what it takes. Kill what needs to be killed, destroy what needs to be destroyed in order to make my business thrive. I wish it wasn't like that. Wish I didn't have to see that. That's all I see. That's what I really see. Nobody's talking like that. Nobody's acting like that. Because all these sins are being done secretly. Speaking of the heart, secret things of the heart. It's not looking like that. It's not acting like that most of the time. So it's not open like that in that kind of way because the world's constantly deceiving. It pretends to like you. It pretends to care about you. Egypt doesn't care about the Israelites. It just beats them, uses them for their own self-gain. That's the heart's intentions, not even so much about the literal job or the money. The heart's intentions are doing that. They're doing those works for real from the heart. Meaning it doesn't actually care. It's just using you to make themselves money. And the justifier is that it's a business, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be like that. It's everywhere like that. This is how the world works. It's not a justifier for sin. It doesn't work to justify. Speaking of truth, The world's full of excuses and justifiers. It can't ever look at itself for what it does, why it does it, how it got there. It doesn't even think about those things. It just wants to get there and do it and get there some more and do more. It can't ever rest and think about what it's doing for a minute because that's torment. That would be torment. It thinks it can escape this torment by not thinking about it, just work more. It's in the torment constantly. It's not escaping what it's in. The cycle of destruction that it's constantly in and doing, it is the torment. That is the torment. No, it's not fun. Seeing people fake things constantly, seeing people seeing their true intentions, but you saw something else on the outside that didn't match the heart. So they are a deceiver then, because they're selling something to you, but they're not really doing that in the heart. That's a deceiver. Even the deception, even what deception is not the world's definition of deception. It can't be. There's no truth in the devil. It's got some other twisted definitions of deception. It acts like it doesn't like deception and it doesn't like people deceiving it, but then it deceives others all day long. So how can it really hate deception then, if that's what it practices all day long? So then the ark takes a long time to build, like a whole lifetime. Noah was 600 years old when after 6 days the floods came. Okay, I'm way too far ahead then because this is already after the flood. Noah is an example of faith and righteous. He is a picture, a teaching, a parable, using them as a parable to teach something, using the people and what they did to teach something preserved in his word. I will establish my covenant with you. Shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. This is the family of Elohim. There is no male or female in the kingdom, and not in the kingdom. Maybe previous chapter. Blessing is a common thing. The definition of blessed in this world is not what blessed means, just the image. I'm a rich man, says the guy that blows the wind and blows Corona away. He's so powerful. He does that himself because he said so. He blows the winds of God and then holds back his laugh. It's obvious. Like children running this show. And he said, I'm a rich man. I'm a wealthy man. I'm a wealthy man. Oh, you're a rich man? Yes, yes. Oh, well, Oh, you bought that airplane for however much. Oh, I couldn't help it. It was such a good deal. It was like only $50 million. I don't know how much, but it was millions of dollars, I'm sure. It was such a good deal. I couldn't help myself. These people don't live in reality. Buying a plane for what I wouldn't make in 50 lifetimes, literally, maybe 100 lifetimes. In 1 minute, they make as much as 100 lifetimes worth. It's not reality. He uses Abraham as the common thing to say this is what people do. They use examples in scripture like Abraham to say they're blessed. Riches prove you're blessed. Isn't that what it proves? I'm rich. I'm blessed. LeBron James, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. When you have to tell the whole world you're blessed, you're cursed. Just reverse it. Just reverse it. When you got to tell someone how good your life is, it's not so good, even though it's looking strongly that way. You know, I got this, I got that, a new toy, this and that's going for me at my work, blah, blah, blah. Why are you telling everyone that over and over again, talking about yourself constantly, always talking about self, constantly talking about self? It's willing to run its mouth all day long to talk about self, but it sneers at someone doing that. Same work, talking to the other person that did that now, talking to it. Now someone else is talking about all the things they've done and their life is so good. And now that same person's sneering at that. They don't like what they hear. That's like a sin or something. That's a wicked person right there. You just did that. You do that yourself. You don't like what that person's doing now? Are they stirring up envy in you? Isn't that the goal? Are you jealous? Are you jealous? That's what part of the goal is to try to make you envious. People do. People talk like that as a way to try to make you envy them because their life is so good. They need others to envy it. It's so good. Something's not right there. Messiah didn't do that. He knows the truth. He kept quiet. He didn't talk about how great his life is and I got this and I got that and I'm doing this and man, everything's working out. I'm blessed. I'm rich. I'm blessed. There's not a single verse of Messiah doing that. He didn't do that. He spoke the truth. It wasn't about himself, constantly about self. I mean, that is the beastly nature. That is the sin. That is the selfishness. That's like what an animal is like. It's about themselves. Me, 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 me. Give me something. Give me, 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 me. It's about me. Pet me, pet me, pet me. Give me food, give me food, give me food. Pet me, pet me. Do this for me. Do that for me. Or I'll tear up your couch. I'll show you what wrath is. I'll show you what happens when you don't give me, 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 me. And then you just say, well, yeah, that's a dog. That's that, you know. It's just a dog, of course. People, they're just dogs, of course. What else can they do? Forgive the dog. It's kind of hard to forgive someone while they're biting your neck, isn't it? That takes faith to believe they're not going to bite all the way through and kill you. Then you won't even be able to forgive them. And Enoch is an example that we, Noah, Enoch, Abraham, the ones that are mentioned that walked in faith, the examples. And these all the examples of faith. Enoch walked with Elohim and he was not. Elohim took him. And not means to simply be dead. He was not. They thought Jacob was, or they thought Joshua. No, Jacob. No, one was it? Not Benjamin, not Jacob, not the coat of many colors. They thought his brother was not, meaning they thought he was dead, but they were wrong. They thought Messiah was dead. They were also wrong. No, he's alive. He's alive somewhere. You just don't believe it. And then finally, they see his brother. They see their brother. And then they believe, of course. Seeing is believing. The Messiah says, "Blessed is he who does not see and believes in him." Not those that don't see. Not blessed is he who sees and believes, Thomas. Blessed is the one that does not see and believes. Does not see. Because it's all through faith. It's all through belief. All the giving, all the truth, all the seeing, all the hearing is through belief and not through seeing. There's no blessing to see. It's like too late. It's like obvious. It's not faith to see. It's just obvious. Here's a toothpick. See? Now you believe? No, it's just a toothpick. There's no belief in this. It takes nothing to believe this is a toothpick. Here's the proof. Look, it's a toothpick. That's not belief. We read faith as not seeing, believing in things not seen, and believing in the things to come that we don't see. We don't see any proof of, not carnally anyways, not any carnal proof, not in that kind of way. We don't see at all anything that proves of anything to come. Doesn't really look like that way in the carnal mind and eyes, because the carnal man does not receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. It can't see, does not receive those things. How do you tell someone to believe? Just believe. You can't really do that. You can say the words, but that's not, what's that going to do? It's not to say nothing. That's not the point. But not thinking that just because we say something like believe, and then that's going to happen now. Every once in a while it might happen. But through some kind of work you did that's from above, that someone saw, they might believe because of that, because someone did something different to them than what everyone else does to them. They didn't do to them what they expected someone to do to them, but something different happened to them. Someone might believe because of that. That's preaching the gospel without saying anything, because the works is saying everything. The works is everything. And it doesn't make speaking void, but the works are the proof, the real proofs. How is that going to happen unless someone does evil? Which is a hard thing to accept, that evil has to keep happening in order for any chance for anyone to believe, because of a believer being around. Because how can good be done to someone that's doing good to us? Then that person must be a believer already. But if someone's an unbeliever, they have to do evil to us in order to possibly believe, because they saw some kind of good done to them that nobody else did to them. Then maybe they can't even explain how nobody else does that to them, because it's hard to explain something spiritual. And it never looks like it's the case. It always looks stupid and not possible. It always looks like a lie to the carnal mind. Like, what do you mean someone did something that nobody else ever did? You know, that already sounds stupid and prideful to people. Flip this thing around here. Bzz. Actually, let me turn that on silent because I think that's pretty loud if it hears that. Just in case it disconnects and connects here. It's 5% left. Oh. What on earth? Oh, I screwed it up. I can hear myself. Shut up, Brian. Are we back? Test, test. Is it back? Test, 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 test. Oh, great. Oh, great. Test, test, test. Wow, I think it's back. I don't know what on earth happened. I swiped and it just, when I went back to enter the studio thing, I heard my own voice and it was all messed up, saying doubles. Okay, I think it's working again now. Just a quick finger swipe and it's all messed up. Okay. Well, maybe I thought it would be here somewhere about how long it took to build the ark, but maybe it's not in this chapter. It was a long time. Probably felt like forever to Noah, like it's never going to get finished. That's probably what it's going to feel like for everyone, what it already has at times. We read about building up a spiritual house, but like the ark is like a house to be inside, protected from the storm, from the flood, building a spiritual house and making spiritual sacrifices, not the world's wicked devil sacrifices that the world talks about. I sacrificed my mother and my brother and my father, and this is why I'm rich. Not that kind of sacrifice. Sacrifice my wife and my kids and my family. People clap for the grave sin that is. Well, don't be surprised when they're all committing adultery left and right for your sacrifice. Don't be surprised why, righteous man that commits adultery left and right. How can someone believe they're righteous for real? It's like a necessity, it's desperation. It has to believe that. Or the alternative, truth, repent, see yourself for what it is, believe in the creator. All those things are, that's the last of last things anyone would do. So it has to believe it's righteous. It's out of necessity and survival. It's out of desperation. I don't like this survival game. Survive, survive. Gotta literally survive. Don't like it very much. New heavens and earth must be something completely different. No more pyramid schemes in Egypt beating you, forcing you through debt, through trickery, through deceit. They sure make you pay for a little house to dwell in, or maybe a big house. That's not the point, though. They sure do make you pay. Boy, do they make you pay for it, for your own house, with your life, your whole life. You got to work for them now, your whole life. That's how much they make you pay your whole life. You're in debt to them. How did I even keep owe no man anything? Doesn't everyone owe some wicked man out there their whole life because of their house debt? Maybe that doesn't count because it's speaking of something spiritual. Or there's just certain things that just have to be that way, and it's not a sin because none of us chose that. Not really, anyways. Elohim remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals, almost as if he got close to forgetting. Maybe he gets close to forgetting sometimes. I couldn't blame him for forgetting his lowly creature that is man that hates him so much. I guess it would be a righteous thing to forget everyone and he wouldn't do any evil. But it's not for him, though. He remembers. Remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. How he made a wind to pass over the earth and the waters subsided. Fountains of the deep, windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from Heaven was restrained. Receded continually from the earth, the waters in the end. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. 150 days. At the end of the 150 days. At the end of 6, 1 and 5. Then this flood, this constant judgment, this judgment all over the earth to finally start decreasing, residing. Boy, that must be a nice thing. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month on the mountains of the red. Now that word means something. The curse reversed. Precipitation of curse. The curse reversed. The rest, it rested on the 7th month. Rest, the 7th. This mountain means the curse reversed, which is the Father's rest. It's the curse being reversed by resting in Him. Boy, yeah, that must be nice. Because right now, if we're in the ark, every believer, it's being tossed. It's constantly moving like a nonstop storm in its own way. And then someday it's going to come to a rest. You have to believe that. That this ark, this salvation ship, is finally going to rest and the waters come down and there will be a new earth. And then finding greenery, finding life on earth. Waited yet another 7 days and sent out a dove which did not return again to him anymore, because the dove found rest. It came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month. So 601, the 1st day of 601, that the waters were dried up from the earth. 0 to 1,000 is 1,000 years. 1,001 to 2,000 is day 2. Day 3 is 2001 to 3,000. Day 4 is 3,001 to 4,000. Day 5 is 4,001 to 5,000. Day 6 is 5,001 to 6,000. Day 7 begins at 6,001, or 601, 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month. The very beginning of the new creation is when the waters are fully dried up, dried up from the earth like my throat. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. So that's what we have to look forward to, the drying up of all this water, this flood water. On day 6,000, year 6,001, first day of the month of the year. Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Now this is everyone that salvation that was saved in the ark, that believed. These are the believers, which are family. That's why they're a literal family. But this is not about blood, though. This is teaching the true family, which believers are family. You're a brother, a wife, a son, a daughter. That's what Messiah said. These are my brothers, my mothers, my fathers, my sisters, my contradicting things that I'm saying right now. Those that believe in Elohim and do his work, his will. Those are my brothers, my mothers, my fathers, my sisters. How could that be true literally? It's not. It is true spiritually. Now I see the teaching for the first time in Noah, in the ark, the true family here. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth and be fruit, multiply on the earth. Every animal, every bird, every creeping, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to Jehovah and took of every clean animal and every bird, offered burnt offerings. We're supposed to offer spiritual sacrifices and burnt offerings. It means the altar is spiritual too. That can be anywhere. You stop anywhere to build an altar. Anywhere in the desert. Someone's building an altar when they stop and have a few words with the Father. And Jehovah smelled a soothing aroma. Then Jehovah said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and the day and night shall not cease, while the earth remains. And still remaining. Therefore, seed time and harvest is here, cold and heat is here, winter and summer is here, day and night is here, shall not cease, while the earth remains. But we do read the earth is growing old, waxing old like a garment in Psalm, I think. And then Messiah teaches that same word about the heavens and earth passing away. And we read in Revelation of the new heavens and earth, and also in Jeremiah and I think other places, the new heavens and earth. So Noah was like on a new earth, like a new creation. So then believers are in for the ride. And eventually they're going to get out of the ark that saved them into the new creation. Who? Only the families of those in the ark, at least for the first day, anyways. For the seventh day rest. The rest of the dead are not made alive until the end of the 1,000 years. What on earth would that be like? Is this part of the reward? That it's just Noah and his family and those in the ark? The fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, on all that move on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand, and man shall do evil with it, and has been doing evil and will do evil. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. You shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. So here we see that all things are clean to those that believe so. That is the teaching for anyone that can believe that. But it's not meaning something just for food when Paul is saying that. That to a believer, to the clean, all things are clean, and to the perverted and unclean, all things are unclean. They receive good and they see it as unclean and perversion. But to the clean, they receive something and they see the good in it and choose not to see the evil. They see the clean, the truth, the heavenly understanding of that word, and not the other side of the sword, the unclean. Before the creation of the world, he chose us through Messiah to be holy and perfect in his presence. Before the creation of the world. Isaiah 7:15. Therefore, the Master himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Curds and honey he shall eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child shall know how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that you dread will be forsaken by both her kings. That's what has to be done. To learn how to refuse the evil and choose the good. So to the clean, all things being clean, for that to happen, then we have to refuse the evil, choose the good, see the good, choose the good, to see that it's not filthy and unclean. But to the carnal, to the evil, to the blind, to the unclean, they receive something, and they receive some kind of good, especially when it's good, because all the evil's already unclean, but they receive good, truth, and they see it as unclean, as perversion, as evil, because they didn't learn how to refuse the evil and choose the good. So they only saw the one side to everything, the evil, the unclean. But we read in Noah here that everything's given for food. So then everything is clean then. And then also the green herbs. But for your lifeblood, surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of man, from the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. So someone pays with their life if they mess around with life. That is the blood. What is required to mess around with someone's blood, their blood? He says, I will require it. The life of man, which is what? The example of Abel, Cain and Abel. The blood cries out. The life cries out when it's murdered. So when someone does evil to someone, they spilled blood by doing evil to somebody, by hating them, deceiving them. Their life is required now. Their blood will be spilled by the Creator's hand. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. Look how he does it. He uses another man to do it, because that's the most disgusting thing, is to have someone do that to you. That's a strong judgment, to have man shed your blood. For in the image of Elohim he made man. Be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. I set my rainbow in the cloud, it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and the creature of all flesh. The water shall never rise again, never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. So after a destruction, he can show that he keeps a big promise to never do that exact same thing ever again. Even though the heart of man and all his imaginations are evil continually, even though that's so, he does that. So how will it all end then? Man just destroy himself, most of it. It's always going in that direction, because man is destruction. It wants to destroy itself. And if that restraint is removed, it will destroy itself. It's just waiting to. It's like shaking. It wants blood. It wants blood. 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 Bloodthirsty. Quick feet that are quick to shed blood and quick to run to evil. That's the kind of people that run this world. Boy, if that restraint is removed, the restraint that holds back a lots of evil, that restraint is removed, it's like a mad dog with rabies or something ready to tear flesh. But that leash kept it from doing what it wanted to do, everything that it wanted to do. Until that leash is removed, then all hell breaks loose. Well, for we look forward to a new heavens and a new earth where righteousness dwells, where righteous Noah and his family dwells. He goes out of the ark, and it's a new creation. Not the real thing, but a type of the real thing. A new creation where only his families, the believing families in the ark. And that's what we read. Looking forward to a new heavens and a new earth where righteousness dwells, because that's not this place. No, that's not this place. Not this Gehenna hole. Garbage dump on fire. Not this world. No, this world's full of Nimrods. Mighty hunters before Jehovah, thinking they do good, they do evil, and they slay people, but they believe they're of the Lord, and they're commanded of the Lord to slay people. Just a little deceived, like every killer is. Nimrod. What does that name mean anyways? Oops.
Strong's H, 5248. Nimrod.
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 Nimrod. Rebellion. There it is. Rebellion. Valiant. Of course, rebellion is good. You're like a hero, something good to this world, but in reality, it's rebellion. Great grandson of Noah, mighty hunter, established an empire in the area of Babylon and Assyria. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Building kingdoms. An important man that never has time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste 1 second of my time. Don't waste any second of God's time. Don't make anybody out on the world and on the streets lose 1 second of their time. They're very important people. They have somewhere to go and somewhere to be that if they're 1 second late, they're going to be shot dead. That's how important, and that's how much so little time they have. Not enough time. You wasted my time. Oh my gosh, you wasted God's time. Rebellion. Nimrod. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. That's the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom. The very beginning, Genesis 10:10. The very beginning of Nimrod's kingdom means confusion by mixing. That's Babel. Confusion by mixing. That's wisdom. That's the wisdom of this world. How is that word anyway?
Strong's H, 894.
Bavel.
Bavel.
Oh, okay. It's a
Bavel.
V sound spelled P, confusing stuff. Transliterations and whatnot. Bavel. The Tower of Bavel. The confusion. Country of two rivers.
Strong's H, 8152. Shinar. Shinar.
Babylonian Chaldean territory. His kingdom. That's a delusion because we don't have kingdoms. Our kingdom that I created, it's mine, it's all mine. Nevertheless, the Messiah says that the Father will give you the kingdom. So then you could say that a believer has his kingdom, but he says that not in pride, knowing that it's not his in pride, the way the world does. Same words, two different things, two different hearts. If something's given to you, now you could say it's his, but it's not his, as in I created it, it's mine. It's my idea, I created it, it's all mine. No, but it's mine through it being given. That's what Messiah said of everything he's been given. It's his, knowing that it was given, knowing where it comes from, that if it wasn't given, you would have nothing. See, that's not what pride does. Pride says, I am everything all the time. It's mine all the time. I created it. No one gave me it. It's not a gift. It's mine. I created it. It's just a prideful heart. Noah was given the kingdom. Believers are given the kingdom, other believers in the ark. That's the kingdom. The ark right there floating in the waters. There's the kingdom. Maybe a little candle or something you could see in the distance that they are holding or something through the window of the ark, just swaying in the sea, storms, raining, pounding, horrible darkness in the world, but they're all in the ark. And we do read it's going to come down someday. Those that are prideful will be lowered and humbled. Those that are humbled will be lifted up like they were lifted up in the ark, and the rest were flooded and drowned to the bottom of the seas and ocean and waters. All those that are prideful are coming down to nothing. All those that humble themselves will be lifted up with the ark. The believers lifted up. Salvation lifted up. And everything that's prideful will be beneath the believer's feet. Flooded and burned. Baptized and burned. The ashes beneath their feet. Beneath the soles of their feet. So everyone that's prideful isn't actually high or mighty. Nimrod thinks he's mighty and high. For that he will be utterly lowered and crushed. And a believer is humble, needs to be humble, will be seen as a nothing and a nobody and worthless evil loser. But they are being lifted up, and someone will see only pride in that. Who do you think you are? Floating in the air above everyone, says the carnal God man in pride, says Nimrod. Who do you think you are? Nimrod, answer the question. It won't answer. It never answers. Ask that question to thyself, because that's how it works with the carnal mind all the time. Put a mirror in front of it. Ask all those things, do all those things, point that finger all to thyself. Use a mirror, and it starts becoming true. Seeing self. It's me. It's always been me. Woe to her who is rebellious and polluted, to the oppressing city. She has not obeyed his voice. She has not received correction. She has not trusted in Jehovah. She has not drawn near to her Elohim. Her princes in her midst are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. Ooh. They leave not a bone till morning. Her prophets are insolent, treacherous people. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. Jehovah is righteous in her midst. He will do no unrighteousness. Every morning he brings his justice to light. He never fails, but the unjust knows no shame. I have cut off nations. Their fortresses are devastated. I have made their streets desolate, with none passing by. Their cities are destroyed. There is no one, no inhabitant. I said, surely you will fear me. You will receive instruction, so that her dwelling would not be cut off, despite everything for which I punished her. But they rose early and corrupted all their deeds. Therefore wait for me, says Jehovah, until the day I rise up for plunder. My determination is to gather the nations to my assembly of kingdoms, to pour on them my indignation, all my fierce anger. All the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. For then I will restore to the peoples a pure language, that they all may call on the name of Jehovah to serve him with one accord. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my worshippers, the daughter of my dispersed ones, shall bring me my offering. In that day you shall not be ashamed for any of your deeds in which you transgress against me, for then I will take away from your midst those who rejoice in your pride, and you shall no longer be haughty in my holy mountain. I'll leave in your midst a meek and humble people, and they shall trust in the name of Jehovah. The remnant of Israel shall do no unrighteousness and speak no lies, nor shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed their flocks and lie down, and no one shall make them afraid. Sing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all your heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Jehovah has taken away your judgments. He has cast out your enemy. The King of Israel, Jehovah, is in your midst. You shall see disaster no more. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, do not fear, Zion, let not your hands be weak. Jehovah your Elohim is in your midst. The mighty one will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. I will gather those who sorrow over the appointed assembly who are among you, to whom its reproach is a burden. Behold, at that time I will deal with all who afflict you. I will save the lame and gather those who were driven out. I will appoint them for praise and fame in every land where they were put to shame. At that time I will bring you back, even at that time I gather you, for I will give you fame and praise among all the peoples of the earth, when I return your captives before your eyes, says Jehovah. Well, that was a pretty fitting chapter to randomly click to, which is what happened. I think that finishes it up really well with Noah's flood and the new creation and what's coming. All right, peace, take care, see truth from above.